Let me tell you something strange. Something I noticed a long time ago, and it bothered me for years before I finally understood it. There was a man I used to watch when I was younger, an old carpenter. His hands moved slowly, almost like he was underwater, and yet by the end of the day he had built more, fixed more, and finished more than 3 young men working beside him who were rushing, sweating, dropping nails, cursing under their breath. I remember standing there, just a boy, watching this and thinking, how is this possible? How does the slow man finish first? It made no sense to me, none at all. And I want you to sit with that question for a moment, because that question, that little crack in your common sense, that's exactly where real understanding begins. Because today I'm going to tell you something that sounds like a contradiction, but it is one of the deepest truths about how your brain actually works, moving slowly. Physically, mentally, in your learning, in your thinking. Trains your brain faster than moving fast ever will, and by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why. You're going to see it in the way neurons fire, in the way muscles remember, in the way time itself bends inside your skull, and I promise you, once you see this, you cannot unsee it. It will change how you practice anything: sport, math, writing, even how you walk through your own life. Now, let me be honest with you. I'm not going to give you some fluffy motivational nonsense. I hate that stuff. I want to show you the mechanism. I want you to see the gears turning inside the machine, because once you see the gears, you don't need anyone to convince you of anything. The truth convinces you on its own. So let's start with the brain. Your brain is, in a way, a prediction machine. That's the simplest way to put it. Every single moment of your life, your brain is making tiny little guesses about what's going to happen next. When you reach for a cup of coffee, your brain has already predicted the weight of the cup, the temperature, the distance, the angle of your wrist, all of it before your hand even moves. And then as your hand moves, your brain compares the prediction with the reality. If they match, nothing interesting happens. But if they don't match, if the cup is heavier than expected or hotter or the handle slips, that's when your brain pays attention. That's when it learns that mismatch, that little error signal, is the food your brain eats to grow. Now, here's the thing nobody tells you. When you move fast, you give your brain almost no time to register that mismatch. The signal comes and goes before your conscious mind can even taste it. Your muscles complete the motion. The cup gets to your mouth. The job gets done, but the learning slips away. It evaporates. You did the action, but you didn't absorb it. And that's why people can practice something for 10 years and still be mediocre at it. They've repeated the motion 10,000 times, but they haven't learned it even once, because learning doesn't happen in the doing. Learning happens in the noticing, and noticing requires time. Noticing requires slowness. I want you to try something right now. Wherever you're sitting, lift your hand. Lift it slowly, so slowly that you can feel every joint, every muscle, every little tremor. Notice how your shoulder engages first, then your elbow, then your wrist. Notice how your fingers are doing tiny things you never paid attention to before. Now drop your hand and lift it fast. Just snap it up. Did you feel any of that? No, you felt almost nothing. The fast movement gave you a result, but the slow movement gave you information. And your brain, my friend, runs on information, not results. There's a famous principle in neuroscience called Hebbian learning. Donald Hebb, a Canadian psychologist, figured this out in 1949. He said, in essence, neurons that fire together wire together. When two brain cells activate at the same time, the connection between them gets stronger over time. That connection becomes a highway, a pathway, a skill. But, and this is the part most people miss, for two neurons to fire together, they have to be active in the same window of time. And if you're moving too fast, the neurons involved in noticing, in adjusting, in correcting, those neurons never get the chance to fire alongside the neurons doing the action. They get left behind. The wiring never happens. You build the road for the action, but you never build the road for mastery of the action. When you slow down, something beautiful happens inside your skull. The neurons involved in attention, particularly in a region called the anterior cingulate cortex, they have time to engage. The neurons in your prefrontal cortex, the part that monitors and plans, they have time to evaluate. The cerebellum, that little walnut at the back of your brain that handles fine motor control, it has time to fine tune. All these regions get to talk to each other, they get to wire together, and the next time you do the action, even at full speed, all those connections are there, ready, primed, working in harmony. That is what we call mastery. That is what we call skill, and it is built almost entirely in slowness. I want to tell you about a violinist. Her name doesn't matter, but the story does. She was practicing a difficult passage, a passage she had played 1,000 times, and she kept making the same mistake in the same place. Her teacher, an old Russian woman, watched her for about 10 minutes and then said, "Play it again, but this time take 10 seconds for every note. 10 seconds each note." The young violinist thought it was ridiculous. The piece was supposed to be played at lightning speed, but she did it. And as she played each note over 10 long seconds, she suddenly felt something she had never felt before, a tiny, almost invisible tension in her left ring finger. A tension she had been carrying for years without knowing it. That tension was the mistake. That tension was the reason the passage kept breaking. She had played the piece 1,000 times and never noticed it, but in 10 seconds per note she found it. She fixed it, and within a week she was playing the passage flawlessly at full speed. The slow practice didn't slow her down. It set her free. This is a principle that musicians have known for centuries. The great pianist Glenn Gould said that practicing slowly is the only way to practice honestly. The violinist Jesha Heifetz used to play scales so slowly that students watching him would get bored and walk away. And yet when he picked up the bow to perform, his fingers moved with a speed and precision that seemed almost inhuman. Where do you think that came from? It came from the slowness. It always comes from the slowness. But let me push this further, because I don't want you to think this is just about music or sport. This is about everything. Everything you want to be good at in this life. Let's talk about reading. Let's talk about thinking. The same principle applies. When you read fast, when you skim, when you race through pages, you are giving your brain the illusion of learning. The words pass through your eyes. Your visual cortex registers them. Your language centers process them, and you feel like you've absorbed the material. But ask yourself the next day what we read, and you'll find, to your embarrassment, that you remember almost nothing, because reading fast bypasses the part of your brain that builds understanding. The part that connects new ideas to old ones. The part that asks, wait, does this actually make sense? That part of the brain runs slow. It cannot be hurried. And if you don't give it time, it doesn't engage. And if it doesn't engage, you don't really learn, you just consume. I'll tell you a secret about myself. When I was younger, I used to be jealous of people who read fast. I'd see somebody finish a book in 2 days, and I'd feel slow, stupid behind. But over the years, I realized something. Those people who read fast, they couldn't use what they read. They had collected the words, but not the ideas. Meanwhile, I would read one paragraph, close the book, walk around, think about it, argue with the author in my head, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for a day, and when I came back to the next paragraph, my mind was richer. The ideas had grown roots. They had become part of me, and that, my friend, is the only kind of learning that lasts, the kind that takes time, the kind that refuses to be rushed. Now, why does this happen? Why does the brain demand slowness? Let me give you the deeper reason. And there's something in your brain called myelin. Myelin is a fatty substance that wraps around your nerve fibers like the insulation around an electrical wire. The thicker the myelin, the faster and cleaner the signal travels. When you learn a skill, really learn it. What's happening physically inside your skull is that little cells called oligodendrocytes are wrapping more and more myelin around the specific nerve pathways you're using. That's what skill is at the cellular level. It's myelin, it's insulation, it's a better wire. But here's the catch. Myelin doesn't get laid down when you rush. It gets laid down when the signal is clean, when the firing is precise, when the brain has time to register exactly which pathway needs strengthening. If you fire the signal sloppily, too fast with errors mixed in, the brain doesn't know what to insulate. It might insulate the wrong pathway. It might insulate the mistake. And then you've trained yourself to be wrong faster, which is, by the way, what most people do their entire lives. They get faster and faster at doing the wrong thing, and they call this progress. This is why a beginner who practices slowly for 1 hour will in 6 months blow past the beginner who practiced fast and sloppy for 5. Hours a day. The slow practitioner is laying down clean, precise myelin around the correct pathway. The fast practitioner is laying down myelin around a mess, and once myelin is laid down, it's very, very hard to undo. So when you rush at the beginning, you're not just wasting time, you're building a wall that you'll have to break down later. Slowness in the beginning is the fastest road there is always. There's a coach named John Wooden. Many of you have probably never heard of him, but he was a basketball coach in America, considered one of the greatest coaches of any sport ever. And one of the first things he taught his players on the first day of practice was how to put on their socks. I'm not joking. He would sit them down, these young men who were already among the best basketball players in the country, and he would demonstrate slowly, carefully, how to put on a sock so there were no wrinkles, because a wrinkle, he said, becomes a blister, and a blister becomes a missed shot. The whole season, he said, can be lost in a wrinkle. The young men laughed at first. By the end of the year, they were national champions. Slowness at the foundation always. Let me bring in something from physics because I love physics, and because this is too beautiful not to mention. There's a concept called signal-to-noise ratio in any system that processes information. A radio, a telescope, a brain. There's signal and there's noise. The signal is the thing you're trying to detect. The noise is everything else. And here's the law of the universe to extract a faint signal from noise. You have to integrate over time. You have to let the system listen patiently for longer. The longer you listen, the cleaner the signal becomes because the noise averages out and the signal stays. This is how we hear whispers from distant galaxies. This is how we detect particles that only exist for a billionth of a second. We slow down, we listen longer, your brain does your brain. The exact same thing. When you're learning, you're trying to extract a faint signal, the right pattern, the right movement, the right idea from a sea of noise, random distractions, bad habits, misfires. If you rush, more noise than signal. If you slow down, the signal emerges clear, bright, unmistakable, and then your brain knows what to learn. The brain, like a telescope, needs time on target. Time on target. Remember that phrase. It might be the most important thing I tell you today. Now, I want to address something. I can hear it in your mind already. You're saying, but isn't there a place for speed? Don't I need to eventually do things fast in sport, in conversation, in work? And of course, yes, of course there is a place for speed. But here's the trick that nobody tells you. Speed is not the opposite of slowness. Speed is the result of slowness done right. You don't practice fast to become fast. You practice slow, and then one day you are fast without trying. The speed comes for free. It is the byproduct of clean, deep, patient work, and anyone who has ever truly mastered anything will tell you the same thing. Watch a master chef cut an onion. The knife moves like a blur, but ask him how he learned, and he'll tell you. For the first year, he cut every onion as slowly as he could. He felt every angle of the blade. He watched every fall of the slice. The blur came later. The blur was a gift given to him by years of slowness. He didn't earn the blur by trying to blur. He earned it by refusing to. Watch a fighter throw a punch. It looks like lightning. But in the gym, 6 hours a day for 10 years, that punch was thrown in slow motion again. And again with the coach, correcting the elbow, the hip, the shoulder, every micro adjustment baked in over time. The lightning is just slowness compressed. This is the great secret. Speed is compressed slowness. There is no other kind of real speed in this world. Everything else is else. Just rushing and rushing is the enemy of mastery. Let me tell you about something even stranger. The way time feels inside your head changes when you slow down. There's a phenomenon that neuroscientists have studied. When you move slowly and pay close attention, subjective time expands. A second feels longer, a minute feels like 5. This isn't a trick. This is real. Your brain is sampling more information per unit of clock time, and so each unit feels denser, richer, fuller. People who meditate report this. People who do martial arts at high levels report this. They say in a fight time seems to slow down. They can see the punch coming from a mile away. That's not magic. That's a brain that has been trained through slowness to extract more signal per moment. They live more life in the same amount of time. Think about that. Slowness paradoxically gives you more time, not less. And the people who rush through everything, checking phones, switching tabs, eating without, tasting, listening without hearing, those people are not living longer. They're living shorter because their brains are only registering a fraction of what passes through them. A year of rushed living might contain less actual experience than a single afternoon of slow, attentive being. This is not poetry, this is biology. Now, I want to talk about something practical. How do you actually do this? How do you train yourself in slowness when the whole world is screaming at you to go faster? The first thing, and this is going to sound too simple, is to pick one thing, just one. Don't try to slow down your whole life all at once. Pick one skill, one habit, one activity you do every day. Maybe it's the way you brush your teeth, maybe it's a guitar chord, maybe it's the first sentence you write each morning. Pick one, and for that one thing, deliberately, consciously slow it down to half speed. Then to quarter speed, notice what you've never noticed before. Notice the small, just the things, the tension in your jaw, the angle of your finger, the shape of the word. That's it. That's the practice. And do it every day for 30 days. After 30 days, I promise you, and I have seen this in myself and in others 100 times, that one thing will become a doorway. You will start applying the same patience to other things naturally without trying. The slowness will spread, the way a small fire spreads in dry grass. The second thing, and this is harder, is to stop measuring yourself by speed. We live in a culture that worships speed. How fast did you finish? How fast did you respond? How fast can you produce? And we have internalized this. We feel guilty when we're slow. We feel ashamed. We feel like we're falling behind. But here is what I want you to understand. The people who are truly winning at life, at work, at art, at anything that matters, they are not the fastest, they are the deepest, and depth is built in slowness. So when you feel that anxiety, that pressure to rush, pause, take a breath, remember the carpenter, remember the violinist, remember the myelin, and go slow on purpose, defiantly like a small rebellion against a world that has forgotten how to wait. The third thing, night, and this one might be the most important, is to embrace boredom. Yes, boredom, because when you slow down, there will be moments where your mind screams at you. This is too slow. This is boring. Let me check my phone. Let me skip ahead. That voice, that itch, is the voice of the part of you that has not yet learned. The mature part of your mind knows that boredom is the gateway to depth. The boredom is the brain reorganizing itself. The boredom is the silence in which new patterns can form. If you can sit with that boredom for just a few minutes longer, past the urge to escape, something happens. The mind, denied stimulation, starts to create. Connections form. Insights arrive. Ideas appear that would never have. Come to a rushed mind. The boredom is the doorway. Walk through it. Don't run away from it. I want to come back to something I said at the beginning. I said that moving slowly trains your brain faster than moving fast. And by now, I hope you see why. Because what we call fast, the racing, the rushing, the hurrying, that isn't really fast at all. That's a kind of motion that goes nowhere. It uses up your time without depositing anything in the bank of skill. Meanwhile, what we call slow, the deliberate, the attentive, the patient, that is where the real acceleration happens. Skill compounds, mastery compounds, and compounding over time is the most powerful force in the universe. Einstein said something close to that about money, but it's even more true of the mind. A brain that learns one small thing deeply every day will in 10 years be unrecognizable. A brain that skims 1,000 things every day will in 10 years be exactly where it started, maybe worse. There's a Japanese word I love, shokunin. It means something like craftsman, but deeper. A shokunin is somebody who has devoted their life to a single craft with an attitude of patience, and there's a sushi chef in Tokyo who has been making sushi for 60 years. 60. He still practices every day. He still slows down. He still notices. He once said in an interview that every day he tries to do one thing, just one. Slightly better than yesterday, not faster, better. And after 60 years, his sushi is considered by many to be the best in the world. People wait months for a seat at his table. He didn't get there by rushing. Nobody ever does. I want to leave you with one more thought because I think it matters. The reason we rush, the real reason underneath all the excuses, is fear. We're afraid of falling behind. We're afraid of missing out. We're afraid that if we slow down, life will pass us by and we'll have nothing to show for it. But this is exactly backward. When you rush, life passes. You buy faster. Years disappear and you can't remember what happened in them. But when you slow down, life arrives fully present, felt. The single afternoon you spent really looking at a tree, really tasting your food, really listening to a friend, that afternoon will stay with you longer than 10 years of hurried days, and the skill you built slowly will stay with you longer than 10,000 sloppy repetitions. Slowness is not the loss of time. Slowness is how you keep time, how you save it, how you put it in the bank. So tonight, tomorrow, when you sit down to do whatever it is you're trying to get better at, your work, your art, your craft, your relationships, your thinking, try this slow down to a degree that feels almost ridiculous. Move at half speed, read at half speed, speak at half speed, listen at twice the depth, and then watch what happens to your brain over the following weeks. Watch the neurons wire. Watch the myelin grow. Watch the boredom give way to insight. Watch the speed return. But this time, real speed. Earned speed. Speed built on a foundation of deep, patient, beautiful slowness. The world will tell you to hurry. The world will tell you that fast is the only way. The world is wrong about this, the way it is wrong about so many things. The brain is not a machine that goes faster. You push it harder, the brain is more like a garden, and gardens do not grow when you yell at them. Gardens grow when you tend to them slowly, patiently, with attention and care. Tend your brain like a garden, and you will be amazed at what blooms there. That's it. That's the secret. Move slowly, train deeply, and one day, without trying, you'll look up and realize that you've gone further than you ever imagined. And you got there not by sprinting, but by walking carefully, beautifully, one real step at a time. If something I said today made sense to you, if even one sentence struck a chord, then I want you to do me a small favor. Try it. Don't just nod and click away. Try it. Pick one thing tomorrow and slow it down and come back and tell me what you noticed, because the only thing that matters in any of this is whether it makes a difference in your actual life. The ideas are nothing without the practice. The practice is everything, and the practice every single time without exception begins with slowness. Follow for more.